setting it up, the funding, the market research, all of that. And once the introductions are done, the students would probably be wanting to ask you some questions. So if that's okay with you, you could just start. Dhanya, would you like to start first?
Okay. So I passed out in 2003 and I joined. I worked with one television channel in Indian Express, and then I worked with Times Now for 8 years. For the last 3 years in Times Now, I was heading their four southern bureaus. At that time, there was
Dhanya, sorry to interrupt you. You're not very audible.
not audible now.
Yeah, your voice seems to be breaking a little bit.
I think my internet connection is going like round and round. Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So I was working with Times Now for 8 years. I quit Times Now 2 years ago. I was their Southern Bureau Chief. I was in charge of the four Southern states. So there was an option to go back to mainstream media, to other television channels. But then I thought, why not try something on my own? And I'm sure betterindia.com obviously did a lot of market research and everything before getting into the business, but I frankly didn't do much of that. I just wanted to be a journalist who starts an alternate media platform. And I think it was just a decision taken at the spur of the moment. And so, no, there was no funding. In fact, even we're a 10-month-old site. We are still not started looking out for funding only now. So it's a self-funded site, the 100% self-funded site. And my focus was basically, see, my 8 years in television, especially national media, I understood that stories from southern India always take a back seat. Maybe they're not less important than a story which breaks from Bombay or Delhi or anything. But maybe because all channels are centric out of Delhi, there are a lot of southern India stories which take a back seat. So I thought, why not have a platform where you tell those stories which are really important from South India, which are also not making it to the mainstream national media. So that was the focus with which I started the News Minute. But to be very frank, the first 2 months I got carried away with the breaking news of the rest of the country. But now I think I'm slowly back into what I wanted to do, which is to have a portal which focuses on the South. Should I go on talking or is that enough?
Dhanya, sorry, I forgot I hadn't unmuted the mic. The question I was going to ask you is, how about your employees, your staff? How many staff work for you?
Yeah.
How do you pay them? How do you manage the working capital? Can you hear me? I guess we'll just have to wait for Dhanya to come back. Dhiman, would you like to make a start in the meantime?
Sure, yeah. Am I audible? Is the voice clear?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I guess I'm the odd one out on this panel. I don't have a journalism background, never worked in the field. I'm a computer science engineer and the conventional, post-engineering MBA. We basically started the Better India because both my wife and I are avid consumers of news. And you really look at, what you see as headlines in everyday's newspapers. So you basically sit down and you go through the newspapers, and what you really get, all you get is sensationalism, negativity. What is it that you really remember, or something that enables you to bring a change or makes you learn something? That aspect was really missing in our newspapers. So we figured that, hey, why don't we start looking at positive stories and just start making a compilation of these, at least for our own good, right? So we just started off as a blog, linking to stories in different publications. But then very soon we realized we actually ran out of links. I mean, there was absolutely a dearth of having any positive news in any of these mainstream publications. So that's when it struck us that, okay, why don't we go around and start reporting this? Because fundamentally we believe that in a population of a little over a billion, there's got to be a lot more good than the negative, right? And why is there no one reporting it? So that's how we started. We basically both of us started covering Bangalore because we're based in Bangalore, uh, covering stories of unsung heroes, change makers, putting it up on Facebook, spreading the word to our network, and slowly word spread. And then we had someone from Delhi joining in saying, I would love to cover Delhi for you. She was a Hindustan Times journalist, and uh, uh, she wanted us to carry stories which Hindustan Times otherwise was not carrying. So then we had someone from Mumbai, then we had someone from Madhya Pradesh, and slowly today we are a network of over 150 volunteers, writers who are reporting positive news from different communities, neighborhoods, and so on. So that's how we really started off. It's largely community-driven, democratized journalism that we managed to evolve into. But yes, that was the primary reason why we started the whole initiative. Um, we got a lot of traction thanks to social media. Everybody who read us would write back to us and say, "Hey, this is what we were hoping for. We wanted to know if there's a place where we could just read positive news." And that's how we largely grew. It was purely word of mouth. All along, we had our day jobs and we were running this as a side project. But about 2 years ago, it started growing quite a bit. There it was just very difficult for us to continue doing it just as a side project, and that's when we got onto it full time. We have one full-time staff writer now, and we're going to be recruiting a lot more this year. In terms of funding, like pretty much towards like the entire last year, we had enough resources coming in terms of advertisements and some campaigns we did for corporates, which helped to keep this initiative stay afloat. Uh, but yes, funding is, I think, definitely needed. We are going to start approaching funds now to try and close a round, which will help us really scale and bring all these stories out there. Now, the one thing I want to really highlight is why do we continue doing this, right? Positive stories, people would say like, what's the idea? But the revelation that every story that we feature has significant impact on the ground. So whomever we feature, now we see that our readers actually go to those people, either donate money or share resources and so on. So to give you an example, we ran a story about a school in Chennai which is run for deaf girls. And after reading that, our readers in Chennai actually went there, fixed the entire hostel block by spending 3.5 lakh rupees and donated another 2 lakh rupees to that school. And I mean, this impact was done purely by just sharing positive news. So there have been over 100 such case studies that we've documented where by just amplifying social good, we've been able to do a whole lot of impact on the ground. And that's what really keeps us going. So yeah, that's our story. Sorry, I think you're mute.
Yeah, sorry, Dhiman. No, I was just going to ask you, was it a difficult decision to take the plunge and get into this full time? Because both of you had to quit your daytime jobs, and I presume you have a family to support. I was just reading about you on your story as it happens, and how this whole thing came about. So, was it a difficult decision to do? And you still say that you don't have any long-term funding in place. You're pretty much working on funding that comes in through advertising and things. Does it scare you? Is it a safe place to be? Because there are a lot of journalists who would like to do things like this, good work, but at the end of the day, you need to have money coming in. So, has it been a challenge?
Yeah, so that's a good question, right? So let me just tell you, in terms of timeline, we started the Budget India 6 years ago as a side project. Technically, 6 years ago, it of course started getting a lot of traction in the last 2 years. But the traction that we got in terms of corporates working with us, the advertisement revenues that came last year, showed us signs that this is not going to be all that difficult in terms of monetary sustainability. But the decision wasn't really difficult because we both are really passionate about this initiative, and we believe that this initiative needs to grow. And I think we have managed to get enough supporters so far who can fund who can fund us, who has funded us to take this initiative longer. So the decision was not that difficult. Primarily because we believe in the cause. Second, we have seen decent financial success. I wouldn't say anything great, but enough success to keep us operationally positive.
Okay, so you didn't go through the traditional route of having a business plan template
No.
and a financial plan for 3 years and all the rest of it, because I've just been teaching them all that, and it seems a bit of an oddity to not have any of that.
Yeah, more so because I am an MBA, and that's the thing. That's your primary tool that you're taught, right? But no, not really. One of the things I've learned, I mean, being an entrepreneur, not just entrepreneur journalism, but being an entrepreneur, is that you've got to go and start something that you truly believe in, something that you're really passionate about, and then you figure out, use all your business skills and all your other skills to figure out how you make it a sustainable venture. But really, if today, if I were to sit down and say, okay, should I start a website which will report positive news? I don't know if it sounds all that appealing on paper, but the biggest key is to just persist with what you're doing. We persisted with what we did, and the business model evolved on its own. So that's been my learning actually, where we managed to evolve a business model rather than starting from one and then building a business.
Thanks, Simant. Maybe Prayank could start off by telling us how he got into Candid, because he was doing something else the last I heard. And the next minute he has this Candid media coming up and he's advertising it to all of us. So very proud of him. Maybe Prayank,
Thank
you
you,
could
ma'am,
talk to
so
us
much.
about your startup here.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, guys. Yeah, it's not so great sitting over there. I know it's pretty boring, but still, you have to hear me out. So I got out of college without a job. Yeah, no placements. They promise you that, no placements. Oh, I'm just kidding. Elections and also, yeah, companies didn't come, we understand. But yeah, they made us capable enough to get a job in the media industry. 1 month out of college, I had a job in my hand, but I needed to do more. I just couldn't work for someone and just be like, okay, I'm a junior in this industry. People telling me, you're too young, dude, too young, you need to go learn about the industry. Oldies telling me that it's okay, you think about me like that. Yeah, I've got some ideas of my own, and it's the new media, so I don't think you oldies really know about it. And I was taught pretty well by my brilliant professors. Yeah, buttering them up. So nothing. I just me and few of my friends, childhood friends actually, not from ACJ. We went to Scoop Hoop's office. You probably must have heard of Scoop Hoop. They were at a farmhouse in some rural areas they called Vasant Kunj. So, and they had a pretty chill room, a good startup. So I liked the place. So I thought, why not start one of my own? Why work for others? So yeah, that was pretty much the idea. But then there are a million people giving you news. There are like hundreds better ones. Uh, I'm not counting the Times of India in that one. You can probably read the Time magazine and Economist if you understand that. They're the good ones. So yeah, the idea was to not be scoop, not present people with 10 things they can entertain themselves with, but do some meaningful stories. Like some topics which are untouched, like adventure sports in India. Okay, yeah, I'm a bit inclined towards sports. That's why I've got other people on the team to worry about other things. So adventure sports, like maybe you guys have heard about stunt biking. Maybe have you? Hey, be responsive, guys. I don't know if you can hear me. Stunt biking, anyone? X Games, motocross, anything? No. Okay. So that's one thing, and there are a million other things like these. I won't like to list them out, but yeah, there are, and people don't know about that. And as news media, I didn't just want to break news. Yeah, I want to do that. Of course, I want to do that to boost up my Google SEO rankings. I need wire services in breaking news. But then I wanted a platform where I can reach out to more people, and I have a better readership of my own, And yeah, I can tell people that this happens in the world, and actually stunt biking and other adventure sports inclusive are adventure sports in many parts of the world, excluding India and some other countries. So yeah, we need to learn. So unless and until we know about things, we can't really raise a voice. Correct. So that was a main aim, and yet we are not funded. We didn't have many back funds because me and all of my friends, we just started with the jobs. Two of them are still pursuing their studies. They're still studying and they're working for candidate as well. Plus, we don't have much money, so all we have we spend on advertising, and we don't give out anything to the people who write for us. Nothing. They write for us for free. I don't know why, but they're pretty chill people, really good people. Thank you for writing for us. And that's about it. And I haven't worked on my site for like 3 weeks. I'm working on this business plan because I have a potential investor and business plans. Priya ma'am, you really should have taken more classes of entrepreneurship because business plans are really, really tough. 3 weeks, I've been only able to write like 2 pages, make 3 slides. That's about it. And I have to give my pitch in a week. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And yeah, I hope I can learn from guys on this panel. Please tell me something. Okay, any questions are welcome about
Yeah,
anything
we have
actually.
a question after a few more minutes. I just wanted to ask Dhanya about the USP, how important it is for you, because I understand Better India has a very clear USP. They focus on positive news, and Priyank says he's going to be focusing on adventure sports. But whereas
No,
your
no,
site is
anymore.
concerned, it's general
As
news,
in,
and there's a lot of noise there already. So how do you carve a niche for yourself?
No, like I said, there's a lot of space on the digital medium, I think, even for news. Now, when you say there's a lot of noise out there, I personally feel that in India, most of the digital platforms are run by the mainstream media. For example, Hindustan Times has its own portal, Times of India has its own portal. So they report what essentially comes in the paper, or let's say an NDTV or Times Now, or all of their websites. So the basic idea here, I say the niche we're trying to create for ourselves is do more and more of stories from southern India. And I agree with both the others that yes, there are websites which have been launched with a proper business plan, the scale up and sell model. But sometimes ideas just happen, and I think you just have to go by that. And as long as you think you can sustain and survive that idea, it's fine. I mean, I had a choice of going back to mainstream. Sometimes I think, oh God, working under Arnab Goswami was much better than working as my own boss. But I guess at some point of time you all have to take a risk. So that's about it.
So I'll just throw the floor open for questions now. The students will just walk up and ask one of you or all of you some questions. Thank you so much.
Hi, Dhania, Priyank, and Dhima.
Yeah,
Um,
that's it.
uh, uh, Dhania and Priyank, you have worked a bit in mainstream media. I want to know. So, I understand that you were disappointed with the way the mainstream media worked, and that's why you started this your own initiative. So, could you highlight more on what are the disappointments you had in the mainstream media?
I
Because
didn't say
I
I
also
was
want to
disappointed
go
with
on
the
alternate
mainstream
media as
media.
well.
I have a sort of difference. I didn't say I was disappointed with the mainstream media. I worked 10 years with the mainstream media. I did enjoy my job. I had no issues with my job. But then there are certain limitations when you work with mainstream media. And I work with Times now. So you can imagine the kind of difficulties I would have had, because there are times when I'm not convinced with the story. Like, I do not think the guy who was shot dead is an RTI activist, but I am told that he's an RTI activist, and I have to project him like Mahatma Gandhi for the next 8 days of my life. Those are things which, as a journalist, you may not agree with. So those are my slight difference with mainstream media about what we were made to do. I think those things happened in the last 2 or 3 years of my tenure with Times. Now, I was disillusioned to a small extent, but I don't think I have any issue with mainstream media. I just wanted to try and see if a small-time journalist can also start something on their own. That's about it.
when you say you don't have any issues with mainstream media, so um, do you think the kind of work they, like, for example, portrayal of RTI activists, like not an RTI activist, as an RTI activist, wouldn't it be an ethical issue if mainstream media does that? And I think that's an issue.
No, no, of course. I'm saying that I did not. I'm not like those people on Twitter and Facebook who are like, you media guys, you sell our country, you loot our nation, kind of hatred to mainstream media. I do have issues with the way certain things are done on the mainstream media. Definitely. Like, for example, let me tell you, there is a Kerala finance minister, K. Mani. How many of you know the controversy regarding the Kerala finance minister? Guys, how many of you know?
I don't.
How many of you
Hands.
know that Kiran Bedi said Narendra Modi has a beautiful face?
Oh, that I do.
Or some of the stuff which has been said during the Delhi campaign. A lot of people have heard at least one or two stories from Delhi campaign, right? So there is a
Yeah.
finance minister in Kerala who has been accused of taking bribes by three different sectors, by bar owners, by mill owners, by rice mill owners. There are political leaders who have come out with sting operations against this finance minister saying he has taken money. He doesn't quit. He doesn't leave. Now people have started collecting money for him on the road. There are campaigns in Kerala where people are actually they're collecting money and sending it to the finance minister. Where does the mainstream media highlight these stories? That is my only problem. Mainstream media goes by notions, I think. Like someone's head office in Delhi, so a story from Delhi becomes more important than a story which may come from another part of the country. So that is my main issue with mainstream media, I would say. Ignoring a large chunk of India.
Thanks a lot for your answer, Dhanya. Priyank, would you like to highlight on this?
Yeah, see, I've just been working in the mainstream, so-called mainstream media for 7 months now, and I work for an education magazine known as Education World magazine. It's based in Bangalore. So it's not really mainstream. They talk about education and that's about it. It's a bit boring, so they don't have many readers. But yeah, I've got to learn a lot of things from them. Brilliant people, I must say. Okay, enough of that. And I don't have any issues with mainstream media, so to say. I just find it biased at times, actually a lot of times. They just show one angle of a story at certain times, especially these political stories. Okay, and that's about it. No, nothing. As a reader, I just say I want stories to have more literature. They should have more literature value in them. Because when I was a kid, I found more literature value. Now I don't. So yeah, that's one complaint. That's it.
Thanks a lot, Priyank. Anyone, would you like to
Well,
comment on that as a consumer of mainstream media? Would you like to?
Yeah. So as a consumer of mainstream media, can you hear me? I'm just checking.
Yes, yes, we can hear.
Yeah. Yeah. So of course, as a consumer of mainstream media, I personally have been disappointed with the kind of stories that you get to read every day. Uh, like what Dhanya rightly pointed out, right? Yes, you get to know what's happening in the Delhi elections, and a lot of the trivial stuff gets amplified. But there is a lot more out there which needs to get reported, and that's, I mean, the outcome of the disappointment with mainstream media was what led us to start the web trade. So. But I also agree with Anya that there is a lot of space in the digital medium for everybody to exist, and in fact I think we've just started. I think the digital media in India has just started. I think you're going to see a lot more initiatives come in, including certain niche media companies like ours, and someone who's covering pretty much the entire spectrum. Because honestly, look at it, right? I mean, it's not like you stick to only one brand and you read only that newspaper. You are pretty much reading across all media channels out there. So yeah,
Okay. Thanks a lot for your answers.
thanks.
Hi, my name is Manoj. My question is for all three of you. So it's pretty generic, but what I want to know is, in journalism especially, is not the highest paying profession. I come from an engineering background, so when I was switching to journalism, the first thing people tell me is, that the money is not so much, and you've got to be careful about that. So if in something like entrepreneurial journalism, uh, how difficult is it to get started? I'm sure that there must be people here too who consider it, but the aspect of finances and starting up and getting started, yeah. Sorry? Yeah, venture capital basically. So how difficult is it getting started with your own venture, and what are the things that we must look out for? For all
Who do
three
you
of you,
want
anyone?
to, who do you want to answer first?
Uh,
Start with ma'am, please.
Tanya, your microphone is muted, I think.
Yeah. So I don't have much to say, so I'll quickly finish. 10 months, I had no great plans. Like people kept asking me, what is your revenue model? What is your financial model? I'm like, I'm a journalist first, I'm a journalist last, I have no clue. But let me tell you, 6 months into the venture, someone actually came to buy us out. Then I realized, okay, maybe the site is worth this much and that much. Now we have a model sort of evolving. We are starting to give content to other people. Like there is a website which is coming up by Mr. Raghav Bal, the Network 18 founder. So we are providing Southern India content for their website. So slowly, I think we are sort of figuring out that one is, of course, advertisements, which is a clean form of revenue, really. Like, as in, you can take sponsored content. There is a lot of native advertising out there, which I think the Indian digital media is still not experimenting too much with. But ultimately, questions will be asked as to how clean that money is, or why are you doing sponsored content. So the first, if you have enough money to sustain your business model for some time, I think go with ads, go with giving your content to other people, make money out of that. And like everybody else on the panel has been saying, as long as you have enough money to sustain and scale up a bit in the first 2-3 years, I think that should just keep you going.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Devant? Okay.
Yeah, look, I mean, whether it's in terms of finances, whether it's a low-paying job or what, but when you're going to do your own thing, you've got to have enough money to be able to reach scale. Okay, getting venture capital money is largely a function of the market at that point of time. So 5 years ago, it would be very difficult for you to raise money for a media venture. Everyone was just investing in tech. 3 years ago, it was e-commerce. But now you see that, okay, Scoop raised money. There are media outlets now raising money. Huffington Post gets acquired globally, right? So it is possible to raise venture capital in today's age. But for that, you need to have traction, you need to show scale, you need to show traffic. Because fundamentally, anyone who wants to put in money wants to know whether your product sells, right? Are there enough people who are going to buy what you're selling? So my simple answer is have enough money to sustain yourself until you reach that kind of a scale. After that, yeah, you have to figure out how do you continue to sustain yourself from there.
Thank you, Devant. What about you, Frank? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I actually agree with Hemant. As I told you, we are just freshers on jobs. Okay, so we don't earn a lot. So whatever we are left with, as in we have to have a monthly investment into the new startup. That's a baby, you need to feed it. It needs to grow. Okay, without money, it's not going to happen. I will give it to you straight. It's really, really difficult. As in, I'm not an MBA. I'm again a journalist, so it's really difficult again. And plus, it depends on you because for anyone to invest in your startup, you first need to have your own reader base. And until and unless you have that, why would anyone actually invest in your startup? uh, because you have to make yourself heard in the crowd, and that's when you get investment. So we are actually at the initial stage. It's just been 5 months since we launched our website, and we are not even regular on it right now. So let's not even talk about that. I'm really ashamed. Uh, okay, yeah, and I see Thanya's comment. I can see people sleeping. Yeah, even I can, and thanks for listening to us. Okay, and does that answer your question, or you need to
Yeah, I
ask
think
anything
that about
else?
answers. Thank you.
Okay, well.
So how many of you want to start something on your own?
Oh.
All you.
Guys, why don't you all start one thing? As in, you already have so many people with you. It's great to have team workers. I know because working alone it's too tough. So yeah, start something. You're so many. Start something. Go ahead. One batch of Q Media starts an office, supported by ACJ, of course. Ask them to sponsor you guys. Why don't you? Yeah, but seriously, anybody really serious to get out there? I think you guys should team up because it's really tough, and I think more minds are needed on anything you're going to start. So don't be selfish. Start with your friends.
Yeah, I actually wanna add to Priyank's thing that if you're really keen to start something, just start something. Look, the beauty
Yeah,
of
actually.
the beauty of the digital media, right, is that it's pretty much I mean, it requires no capital. You can just like sign up, get a free website, and start publishing. Just start, but I mean, even if you can just do it on weekends, right? But start, and if it's something very interesting, you will be surprised with the traction that you will start seeing.
And don't take your deprivation classes too seriously. Because you will be doing scoop whoop plus deprivation plus news plus better India. You'll have to do everything if you're on the digital medium. I mean, there are no choices there. Like, for example, when I was working with Times now, I can choose to say, oh, I will do only the most happening political story, but now I have to sit and do a story on, I don't know, on Brad Pitt because it's my own site. So just be ready to do any story, every story, but just remember content is king. So it really doesn't matter how many players are out there, but as long as people can do good content, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I think unique content matters the most, as in because I see every other site copying each other's stuff and pulling out the same viral thing. I don't like to do that really, but yeah, we have to do that sometimes to gain traction again. So, and yeah, if you really want to start it, you guys are young like me, so go ahead and start it because you can take risks. This is the time you actually being old and taking risks. It's a bit, it's more risky because see, I'm just starting. My career has just started. Just kidding. Sorry.
Hi. Hey, good afternoon, all of
Good
you.
afternoon.
So my question for you, Danya, is that the News Minute, basically, the News Minute, that from what you said, you've differentiated it as a website where there's a lot of, like, you have to focus on South Indian news, right? So how has that been successful? Have you found that there has been people who are really who have been interested in like the aspect of South Indian news, and how then has it worked for you from compared to a first post or maybe a CNN, IBN news portal? Has it have you been managed to stand out from the rest of the party? That's my question to you. To Dhiman, my question is that we've always heard that positive news is not good news. We've always heard that a more number of murders, more number of deaths, it's good for us. So from your, but you've done something which is quite unique. You've made a website based on just unique news. So how has that worked for you? Have you found that that's resulted in people who are really interested? Is there actually a market out there, a bigger market which you're planning to explore? And finally, to Priyank, hey man, what's up? How are you? uh, just like don't like take it any other way, but how has it been like when you've been dealing with people, investors, and all? Have you had that question saying, "Hey, you're just too young. Like, how you doing all this?" And how have you reacted to it? And what do you tell investors who maybe say you don't have enough experience or you don't have enough age to do all this?
Oh no no no. The investors are okay. Should I start?
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. The investors don't put up these questions. No, they're pretty chill lot. They like young people working and coming up with new ideas that they also like. And I've got a UK-based investor that I'm talking to right now. I won't disclose it, of course. But then he's a pretty cool guy, and he's into sports cars, and also he really gets my idea of how adventure sports is really, really, really important, and how other things that are really not in the mainstream, they're not talked about in the mainstream, and they're still important, and people should know about them because they need exposure. It's important. And yeah, these questions were actually put up to me firstly by Xavier's Institute of Communications in my interview for the ad PR thing. They said that you're too young for this stuff. You should go study more and stuff. So it's okay. And secondly, when I got out into the industry, I met a lot of people like who are already working as associate editors, or even my own batchmates in ACJ, and some there's a college called Indian Institute of Journalism and New Media in Bangalore. Okay, people over there also criticized me for starting so early, according to them. But uh, I don't know what to say. I think I just need to prove that my content is it's newsworthy. Okay, maybe it's educating people. Just people like to read me. It's good enough for me. So that's my idea. I just want the readers to enjoy the content, and they should take something out of it. It just shouldn't be for nothing. So yeah, that's it about it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Sorry, my connection went off again.
Yeah, no problem. Did you get my question?
Yeah, I heard you. See, I'm actually just figuring out my, like I said, my niche. I want to be a South India reporting, but it's just been 10 months, and I think that's too short a time to gauge. But we sort of have found out from the last few months that if we do a good story from any of the southern states, there is a considerable readership that's now building up. And I think another 1 or 2 years, effort to do every kind of story which gets ignored. And I'm sure that we can build up that reader base. So I'm pretty confident about that. But if you ask me, have you looked at the readership? Are you sure? I know I'm not.
Thanks. Final
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah. So, first of all, I'm surprised that you guys are taught that positive news is not good news to cover. Uh, I mean, look, the reason why we started it is because as a consumer, I felt that I got to know something good about the country as well. We're not advocating that there should not be negative news, right? Because you need to know what is broken in order to go fix it. What we're saying is there's got to be an alternate viewpoint as well. So in addition to all the negative news that you guys are reporting and consuming, you got to also be reporting and consuming positive news. Um, we have seen, to answer the question whether there's a market for this or not, we have grown purely through word of mouth, organically over the years, and we have seen steady year-on-year growth in terms of traffic. Even in terms of loyalty, people who read us once, they're pretty much coming back every day and reading us. So these are the metrics by which we really measure uh, whether our offering is sticky or not, whether people like it or not. So our email subscriptions, for instance, right, it's growing on a daily basis by significant numbers. The social community channels, Twitter, Facebook, really growing by vast numbers, and that is clearly an indication that people really like reading positive news right now, and that basically gets us to continue doing what we're doing.
No, and actually, I agree with Dhiman that people actually read positive news much more than negative news, I think, because even for a general news portal like mine, which does all the bad and the negative news, there was this one story we had done about a tea shop owner couple in Kerala who had taken loans every year and they traveled to 16 countries. And one of their final destinations, I mean, one of the dream destinations remained to be America, and they have not yet gone there. So these guys would take loan every year and they will travel out. That story went so viral for us, and two different campaigns have been started, not by us, because people kept telling us that we want to contribute money, start a crowdfunding. So I genuinely believe that, I mean, look at the stories that you share on your Facebook and Twitter pages. On Twitter, I think you share negative stuff like I hate Narendra Modi or I hate Rahul Gandhi kind of stuff. And on Facebook, you share the happier, the weirder kind of stuff. So I think there is audience for both in India, and I would welcome more positive news on mainstream media also. Like when we used to cover a happy story, let's say for Times Now or even the others, they would say, no happy stories, find controversies.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much for answering my questions. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Sarin.
Hello.
My question is to Dimant. So Dimant, I worked with the alternative for about 6 months,
Oh,
and
wonderful.
when I was working, there was this project they were working on with the Deshpande Foundation in Hooghly. So do you do such projects as well in the Better India?
No, we do not right now. In fact, one of the ex-alternative staff writers is now
Yeah,
working with
Shreya
us.
Parekh.
Yeah, so Shreya visit was. But we don't do any offline campaigns right now. Really, our strength and expertise lies in online. So what we try and do best is basically just focus only on online journalism right now and not doing any projects offline right now.
Okay. And when you talk about positive news, do you
Yeah.
avoid delving into political stories as such, or do
Yeah.
you take a safer side?
No, so we do try and stay away from politics and religion as much as possible. Uh, Unless there's something significantly positive in any of these two themes, which is very rare. But in case there's something, then we would feature. But otherwise, we really stay away from these two topics quite a bit. We also stay away from opinions. So we're not doing any, we're not being preachy, and we're not trying to give opinions, but we're trying to really showcase impact, and that's really so far a framework that we've been trying to follow. But yeah.
So your overall theme would be something like how people do things differently, or better than what it's.
Yeah, so it would be, let's say, unsung heroes, right? Change makers. So if someone in some community has brought about a change, either by changing the way things are done, or by inventing something, um, or some organization has gone and brought about a change, those are the stories which will become newsworthy for us. As compared to all the other things. Although now we get a lot of letters from a lot of readers, so we do try and showcase some of them. But yeah, but largely we try and stick to this framework of unsung heroes and change makers.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Hello everybody. Hello everybody. I am Firdaus. Dhiman, my question is from you. I want to ask, there are corruption, wrongdoing, and dadagiri, cheating all around. What inspired you to do stories on this development, all positive stories? What inspired you?
Yeah. No, what inspired me is because there was no avenue for me to go read on anything of this sort. If I want to read about the Uber rape, every news portal is carrying it. But if I want to read about some taxi driver who's actually done a good deed, and I think a lot more taxi drivers have done a good deed than the number of taxi drivers who have committed a rape, uh, there's absolutely no one talking about it, right? And so we figured that let the existing channels continue to report what they're reporting. Of course, it's important in the national ecosystem of news, but the percentage of positive news is really zero right now. And why can't we just come in and fill that gap?
Yeah, how difficult or how easy did you find to do stories or find stories about development?
Oh, it's actually very simple. I mean, it's very easy. Yeah, I mean, like I said, right? Fundamentally, people are a lot. Most of us are good here. I mean, how many of us here could raise a hand and say, "No, I'm not really a good guy." Right? I mean, most of us are good. Most of us tend to do some good deed or the other. It's a lot easier to find that than to go searching for a theft or a robbery or a rape. Really, even statistically, probability-wise, it's low on number, the negative news, and that's why they're all searching around trying to say, find me a controversy story. You don't need to go and say, find me a good story. The good stories are all around you. I mean, even in your neighborhood, you would have a senior citizen who collects your bills and makes a payment to the electricity board for the whole neighborhood. It's like that's a great deal, right? But no one's talking about it. There could be someone who's controlling the traffic there. He's not a policeman, but he's controlling traffic around your area. That's a great deal. I think it's a lot easier. I mean, for us, content has not been an issue, thankfully, because we're just focusing on the good. I think it would be very tough for me to find robbery cases around the neighborhood all the time.
Yeah, thanks, Simar. I would like to ask both of you, what do you think? How important is it in this era to to work on positive news as well? As Pragya said that they want, the stars and the others journalists, they want some conflicted stories, controversial stories. What do you think about it?
So I learned a lesson after certain experience. Okay, this is not to be shared, and this did not happen personally with me. Let's say, so there was a train accident once. The electric cable in a air conditioned compartment of the train. There was an accident. There was a fire on a bogie. No one died. No one was injured. They stopped the train. It was around 5 in the morning. It happened in a place called Ongole in Andhra Pradesh. Since there was no death and nothing, none of the reporters bothered to go there. So one of the editors asked, "Why? Why didn't you go?" So the reporter said, "No, because I don't have to go. No one died there, and unless less than 15 people, you don't go. It has to be about 10 or 15 for a channel to move and go to that place. If it's more than 100 kilometers." The editor said, "Could it be a Naxal attack?" The reporter said, "No, Ongole in Andhra Pradesh does not have any Naxals." That's the story, the editor said. That means Naxals are entering new territories in Andhra Pradesh. Believe me, that became breaking news that day. Naxals enter new territories in Andhra Pradesh, they attack a train. So, my problem is that when there is no controversy, we have a tendency to make a controversy. So there are days when there would be happy stories which come, but still that is never ever given importance. It's always said no happy stories. If there's no controversy, let's look for one. So I think that attitude in the mainstream media has to change. When was the last time you guys remember taking a newspaper and seeing a happy story? The first story, the front page. Do you remember any headline except festival days where on television channels where there's a happy story? So I think coverage in India has to become more positive. It has to become more positive, or we are not going to change people by simply harping on the bad stuff and the controversy. Of course, attention has to be given to that, but at least let's start with 10% for the good stuff happening in this country. Just 10%.
I think there should be an equal balance. We should report as much of good as much of bad. Balance society and all. Okay, we are cultural people, and also I think yeah, there's a lot of good going around, and it's really great. See Better India spreading the word amongst people about the good going around. There are a lot of people like Dhanya knows she has worked in Times Now who want sensationalism in their lives. A lot of editors in today's world, and moreover, I think stories shouldn't be categorized as bad or good, evil. I don't think so. Anything that the people should know about, they should know about. It should be given to them. It doesn't matter if it's good, if it's bad. News is news, according to me. And yeah, talking about that, I also talk about marijuana on my website. That's also one of the issues. So if you guys want to know anything, you can just write to us. Okay. And you can find many interesting articles about marijuana. That's one more issue that I don't think it's much more harmful or less harmful than alcohol. Of course, smoking cigarettes are more harmful. And yeah, uh, anything else, ma'am?
No, thank you so much. Thank you. You have?
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Dania.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hey, just wanted to ask you one thing. What's your scale of operation? I mean, how many writers do you have? And are you able to cover entire South or Delhi also? You have Chitra writes for you, I know that. And what is Chitra's role? Chitra Subramanian's role in the News Minute?
So Chitra doesn't do the daily news stuff because obviously she's not supposed to be doing the daily news stuff. She does the editorials, and whenever what is her niche, like for example, issues about black money, those are stuff which is her niche. So when stories come about that, she writes about that. But on a daily basis, yes, like we sit together and figure out what are the stories that we should pick up and see. And sometimes we try not to stick to news. Like yesterday, we had done a story about the Tamil Nadu former Chief Minister J. Jayalalitha, and who are the 5 people, the only 5 people she speaks to. So that is of some value to readers who want to know more about her. So we try generally not to stick to just news stories, but informative pieces also. When it comes to my team, I have reporters in all the 5 southern states.
Then I think we lost you. I think we lost her. Then yeah.
Looks like Dania's lost her connection. I also wanted to ask you about your teams. Are you looking to recruit people? If any of these young guys want to join you, would you have a place for them? How does it work?
Yeah, of course. I wanna hire all of you,
We
man.
have you on record, Priya.
Yeah. You guys are great. All those who are smiling, I'm gonna hire all of them. Else, no, I don't like people who don't smile. Yeah, of course. Shy on your out.
So our recruitment happens in April, but meanwhile, many of them are also thinking about their own ideas and things. So would you be open to them being in touch with you
Yeah, of
to
course.
for clarifications and things like that?
And the list
Because
of
I have
young
good ideas
entrepreneurs.
in the room now. I've just covered one group, so 2 more to get through. So I think a lot more questions will come. Dhanya, would you like to answer Arun's question? He had another question to ask you as well. I think we lost you there.
Yeah, I don't know when the screen froze. I have really bad internet connection and I run a website.
I think Arun was asking you about your team, and you were just saying that you have some reporters down in the south.
Yeah, I have reporters in all the 5 southern states. We have a small desk based out of Bangalore, and we have a lot of writers who contribute. That's from all over India. There are a lot of people who write. Most of them former colleagues who are no longer into journalism per se. Some of them are journalists who freelance. So that way, we have a lot of writers contributing to the News Minute, and some of them we pay, some of them we don't pay.
I just wanted to ask you one last question, all 3 of you. What would be the single biggest challenge that each of you faces running this startup on your own? It's a pretty lonely business to be in, isn't it? To be grappling with all the problems and also to fill in for gaps like accounting and management and marketing and all the rest of the skills that you will need, especially when you start up. So each of you could just fill in that gap by answering what for you individually has been the biggest challenge.
Uh,
Yeah,
well, for
Danya,
my
go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, financially, I'm not sure. I'm just starting out, so I'll have to maybe next year I'll be able to tell you if what are the challenges because as of now I'm surviving and sustaining, and my revenue model is slowly opening up. But as a journalist who's worked with the mainstream media for more than 10 years and then suddenly shifted to alternate media, I think that hangover is very much there. Like there are days when I feel what am I doing here? Why can't I just be on Times Now shouting and where the nation is watching me and I'm just here in one apartment in Bangalore and I don't even know if people are reading my website. So that kind of hangover is always there where you want to be part of the mainstream media, but I just fight that every day. Actually, my so he keeps telling me that look, Huffington Post or BuzzFeed or so many other websites which we see today, some of them have been in existence for more than 10 years. So they all work really hard. And maybe one day we'll be there. But if we are not there also, I'm happy to have started something on my own.
Demon, what about you?
Yeah, so I mean, as an entrepreneur starting something like this, there are lots of challenges. There are lots of challenges which you have to deal with, and unfortunately deal with yourself because you're the boss. And so one of the key things is really like for instance for us, right? Um, how do you stay fresh in terms because look, you started this as a concept 5 years ago, you continue to grow, and what happens is that you start developing your biases and really at the same time readers are changing. If you look at readership patterns, things are changing pretty much every 3 months. Earlier people were reading long form, now people read short form, then now people do videos, and your challenge then becomes to be a step ahead to make sure that you are able to keep your readers engaged with experimenting with different forms of content. And how do you do that? And like one of my basic needs has been really to how do you get like-minded people to join you. It's been a very big challenge to get people who understand the concept and are also able to execute it along these lines, right? So recruiting the right kind of people is a big challenge. Uh, then, of course, when you're looking at raising money, you're looking at traffic, and you've got to do marketing. So you've not only got to do content, you've got to do marketing. You've also not got to do marketing, you've got to do distribution of your content. Where do you take this content and go, right? I can't be publishing these articles in a science journal, for instance. So you need to know where your audience is. How do you do that? So you're pretty much doing everything, including accounting and finances, and then doing sales to try and get advertisements in. All this we're doing right now with a full-time team of 3. So yeah, I mean the challenges are like pretty much every time, pretty much like since
How
the time
many
you
hours
wake up.
do you work on an average day?
How many hours?
Yeah.
I think it's 24 hours because you're going to sleep also with ideas on what you got to do the next day. I would say, I mean, really, in terms of working, I think it would be at least about 12 to 14 hours a day you're working, doing across pretty much everything. Yeah.
Priya, do you want to answer the question as well?
Yeah. So the startup is great thing. You own your own thing. You're your own boss. It's very great and good till the time you realize that you're working all the time and it's not so great. And plus, being a fresher, you've also got a job. You don't have any savings, so you've got to do that job. Come back home, work on your website, and then don't sleep because you have to wake up early, then again work on your website, then go to the job, come back home, work on your website, don't sleep. I don't know what I'm saying. So yeah, basically the thing is that there's too much of work pressure, and we're 4 of us now amongst us, and so the work is pretty much divided. The person handles the creative things, all the designs and everything of the website, and anything that's creative on the website. I and one more friend, we see the content, and once one person sees the marketing side. But we're not that great at it. We're still learning with experience. Every day you learn something new, and on the net, you just go 24/7. You can't stop. It's really addictive, and it's really hectic. So yeah, a startup is a great thing, but then you've got a lot of work pressure. So you should be, if you're gonna go for it, if you wanna do your thing, then be ready for that pressure, because I never thought I'd been so much of pressure in ACJ while my time at ACJ, and also owning my own thing then too. But yeah, see, you have to work hard and see how it goes. You have to understand your readership. That's the main thing, because unless and until you have people reading you, it doesn't matter what you're writing. It really doesn't matter unless you have reach, unless there are people coming revisiting your website. So yeah, and social media is a big thing. Go for it. Facebook, Twitter, everything. They're really good. Reddit also. Yeah.
Do you take your analytics very seriously?
Yeah,
Readership and all
yeah, not me actually. One of my friends who's doing masters in economics, he does. So he tells me things about it. So, yeah, he's one of the co-founders. So.
that? So I guess
Yeah,
that's about it.
just wanted
So
to add on the analytics part,
sorry, yeah,
just
Deeman,
as the
yeah.
last point. Like for us, analytics is extremely important. If you're looking to get into digital media, the only measure for you on how well your content is being received is analytics. So if you ever getting into digital media, I would strongly recommend that you do like a refresher course on analytics and understand that what is to be measured and why it is to be measured. I think it's extremely important for you to even keep reshaping your business. Yeah.
So how do you go about it for Better India? How do you measure? What the key metrics for you?
So really the key metrics, of course, is in terms of number of visitors, right? That's like your primary thing that you look at on a daily basis. But then there are a lot of advanced metrics that you look at. Like on a daily basis, I'm looking how many people came to the site. But then you got to have set micro goals for your website. So you should say, how many people then sign up for my newsletter? Because that's like one additional step of engagement, right? How many people end up liking me on Facebook or following me on Twitter? And what is the percentage of traffic which comes in ends up doing any of these things? Then we have certain set micro goals like how many people read more than 3 articles, and that's like really a measure of my website, whether it's throwing up the right content, whether it's engaging you, and so on. How many people spend more than 5 minutes on the site? So there are a lot of these micro goals which we look at on a weekly basis, and that really tells us how the week fared, both in terms of content and in terms of usability. So, but that sort of then feeds us back into how we plan out the next week and what kind of content and how do we package it and so on. And that's really crucial in digital media as compared to offline media, where you really don't know which column was read by author. All you know is how many newspapers are in circulation, right? But digital media gives you this advantage of measuring every little bit. You know pretty much which article is being read by whom in which location, and so on. So should make an advantage of this.
Deepak, I understand there's another question from one of our students here.
Sure.
Yes. Do you curate articles for specific demographics, or do you check that in those analytics too?
So we don't create content for specific demographics, but yes, we look at demographic information in our analytics, and that's primarily very important for us when we go to pitch to advertisers, because they want to know let's say what's the age group that's coming in to read you, which cities and all that. So we have the data, and that data is important for them. So we do collect the data, but we don't try and influence our content to influence the demographic data. No, we don't do that. The content goes out on its own merit.
Oh, thank you for today. Nice talking
Thanks.
to you.
So Dhimant and Priyam, thank you very much. I think we've lost
Welcome,
Dhima again, so I should thank her offline. Thank you so much for sparing your time, and I suppose some of these students might want to be in touch with you. So I hope it's okay if I pass on your email IDs to them.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
No problem.
Yeah,
Thank
we'd
you,
love to
Lilith.
interact. Thank you.
Bye-bye.